going on? So, here we are. We're in the thick of August now. The summer blockbuster season is officially winding down. Depending on who you are, the season might have already peaked for you. You might have been waiting for Wolverine and Deadpool the most this summer blockbuster season. So, everything's probably downhill from there if you if that was your most anticipated movie this year. For others, that's going to be Alien Romulus, which will be releasing in very soon. So maybe after that, that's going to be the downward dip, and the summer blockbuster season will be officially over. Uh, One of those other movies that sort of in the lineup of summer releases is, of course, Borderlands, which we're going to be talking about today. Today's episode is particularly special. I got a good buddy of mine who has agreed to have a discussion with me about this movie, and I'm excited. I was excited to do it. I'm excited to share this discussion with you. It should be fun. So, the Maestro, this is probably hopefully the first of many collaborations that we'll be doing on this channel. But my rapid fire thoughts quickly about Borderlands before I share this conversation with you all. Borderlands is probably not going to be high on people's summer list for this year. In fact, it'll probably rank for most people the lowest on their list of movies that they've seen this year, or if not, pretty close to the lowest this year. Nevertheless, I did go see it. I was curious about it. And the short of it is, the best thing about this movie is probably Cate Blanchett. Easily, handily. She's probably the best thing about this movie. Regardless of what you've heard, that she and other co-stars in this movie don't look like they're interested, like they're enjoying being in the movie. I disagree. I think Cate Blanchett is the anchor of this movie, and that helps a lot. Script is probably not. It's not. Well, it's not. It's not where it's not where it could be for it to be a better movie, and I think the film suffers for that. And ultimately, this movie is probably going to be a forgettable summer popcorn flick, but I still say don't discount it unless unless you just don't want to watch it. I think if you're curious, it's worth a look, if for nothing else, Cate Blanchett. And for those of you who like Kevin Hart, maybe you're not Kevin Hart fans, Kevin Hart is surprising. He was, for me, in this movie. He was not what you might expect in a movie like this, and that was refreshing. That's all I'll say on that. I'll leave it there. I'm going to save some juice for the discussion. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts. Not a great movie, but cool if you like Cate Blanchett and stuff like that. So now I give you the conversation. This is musings on this movie with the Maestro. Take a look. All right, here we go. I'm here with Maestro talking Borderlands. I'm going to get into this immediately. So, you're probably aware of the word of the day going around about this movie. You know, it's not really well received by critics and fans alike. You know, we're all aware about this. Although there have been some people who, it's a small number of people who actually enjoy the movie. But
was that you though, C4? Just 5 minutes ago, and you're
I just and so here's the thing. I'll say for my part, I didn't think the movie was as bad as I was hearing it as before I saw it. I was hearing like, oh, this is a stinker. This movie's terrible. Don't waste your time on it. Blah, blah, blah. Just before before we text about it. Oh, he's going to see Borderlands. Oh, yeah, it's cool. I was hearing, and I said intentionally stayed away from everything so I can say, I think I want to make my own assessment. I'm going to watch the movie anyway, and then see what I think about it. So after having seen it, I was like, all right, I definitely understand where the criticisms come, but also as someone who never played the games, my first instinct was that okay, people who hated most people who were not critics who have played the games uh, didn't like it because of for whatever for the ways it didn't represent the game well, right?
Sure.
And then for the people who were more movie heads, were like, nah, this movie just it doesn't work as a movie. Like the storytelling is off, the cinematography is whack,
Keep
whatever.
going.
Whack,
Keep
like
going. C4, keep going.
Wood's visuals are whack.
Soundtrack is
Soundtrack was
bad. CGI bad. The script was bad.
not good. Like the characters were bland, generic. They were uninteresting.
Sure.
Nobody was funny. The jokes didn't land. Whatever. Right? So, but from my point, I was like, okay, I definitely understand what people are talking about. I happen to. I think the first thing that jumped out. I think we mentioned this at the start of this conversation was that if anything, it's probably the movie's biggest crime is that it came out too late, like 20 years too late. It's probably like or it's 20 years difference in some way. It's either 20 years too late, or it could have been, or it's 15 years too late. Either way, it's like it's one of the one. It's like okay,
Otherwise, it didn't arrive on time. C4 is what you're trying to say.
it wasn't with the timing was really not with it. The other thing was that I was hearing that came up was casting, that this was an issue with, like, particularly with Lilith, with Kate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis's casting, that on the older end, like, are they too old for this property? So I put the initial, like, the blanket question for you, Maestro. What were your initial thoughts going into the movie? Right, you're a player of the fan. You play the games. You're familiar with the property and the lore and everything. Going into that, what was it enough to just go, hey, I played the games? Was going to make you see the movie, or are you just already curious about, like, what were your thoughts going in?
My thought going in was I can't believe T-Mobile's advertising $5 to watch it on IMAX. Is the only reason was it was $5. And I was like, if it's $5, I want to see this train wreck. And I'd never been to the AMC near where I lived. So I was like, I'm going to go see what it's looking like. So it didn't really matter the movie. The property didn't get me. As you said before, C4, I have played the games. I've played like 5 or 6 of them. I think there's been 5 or 6 if you count there's a Tales of Borderlands. So I put in about 300, 400 hours because these games have been coming out for 10 years.
Yeah,
A long time. And like I told you, I've played.
How longer than that? Like not 2006 or 9, 2009, something like that. 10 to 12.
Wow, yeah. Original Borderlands was what? PS3 era, actually. You're right. It
Yeah,
was
something like,
PS3.
right? Dang, that's still
But
that's
that one, I mean, the original Borderlands it was just like a shot in the dark.
yeah.
Even that one had a lot of not controversy. There was a lot of change going on because when they first showed the people looked human, the characters,
Right, yeah.
and they looked like bad CGI. And people saw this and was like, this looks like crap. And then what they did was like, all right, we're gonna make it look all cell shaded.
Right.
And
Okay,
so
right.
they actually made it look more stylized instead of striving to make it more realistic, which it was failing at. They made it look more stylized, which gave it a unique spin, and that got people back in. And then when people played it, they found as there was like it's like basically like Doom mixed with
Okay, yeah,
Diablo,
right.
whereas
Oh,
like it's like
okay,
a
yeah.
loot shooter. Like you go to get the new guns, and
Right.
it's like it is a very addicting game, and it's a terrific game. It's really really good. All of them. I've played them all, and I've loved them all. So I love those, but I didn't go into this movie expecting to see what I saw. I knew it was gonna be a rough sled to push and pull.
So okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So what gave you the impression of that? Was it the trailers? Did the, Because the trailers also they didn't look particularly promising. Like, they didn't look promising, but it was like, okay,
Yeah,
it's probably enough in there to be like, all
it
right,
looked bad, generic. It just looked
right,
generic.
right. It was
Yeah,
like,
it
yeah,
just looked
right
generic.
of the middle.
I was interested in when they said we're gonna make a Borderlands. I was like, all right, if you get the right people involved, it could be pretty cool. You could put a Star Wars spin on it. It takes place in space, aliens, violence. The games are rated mature, so you can have some cuss
Yeah,
words in it. Yeah,
yeah.
you could take it a million different ways. And what they chose, and then they chose Eli Roth, and I
Right.
was like, okay, Eli Roth. I've seen a lot of his films. I mean, I've seen like what the Three Hostels. I've
Okay.
seen Cabin Fever. I
So
didn't see Green
Thanksgiving.
Inferno.
Did you see
I,
Thanksgiving? You saw Thanksgiving. I'm sure you saw
oh
it.
no, I'm waiting until this October.
Oh, you
But
were.
I
Oh,
heard.
yeah,
Did you
yeah.
remember the tagline by the way for Thanksgiving?
Wait, wait, what is it? I can't remember by heart.
The tag is the best. It's there will be no leftovers. It's the best tagline for a movie. Anyways,
It
Thanksgiving,
is
I'm
actually,
saving. Shout
yeah.
out to Aaron. October, I'm gonna be watching that movie happily. I didn't watch that Clocks movie, which had Kate
Oh, I heard about
Blanchett
that.
in it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's
That's
right.
the
Yeah,
connection
that's
of
the other
Kate
one.
Blanchett.
Right.
So I heard Eli Roth came into it, and I was like, well, this guy doesn't do any action. But this guy, what is he? When you hire him, what do you get? And I'm thinking, all right, you're gonna get something grisly. So then I think, all right, we got a rated R film. Cool.
right. Right.
All right. And then I heard Kate Blanchett got it, and my mind was blown.
Right.
So
Right.
it was like No Man's Sky.
Was that a
What?
good thing? Was that a good blown, or was it like
I love. She's one of my favorite
hey, Kate
actresses.
Blanchett is amazing,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, right, yeah, okay,
Oh,
right,
dude, I was like, dude,
yeah,
get her in an action film.
yeah.
I'm there.
Come on, yeah, come on,
I'm
like
there to see what it looks like.
right.
But then, then you start hearing about like, all right, the 6'5" Marine
Oh,
Roland being played by Kevin Hart. I'm like, oh, we're going here now. We're going in this direction. We got Jack Black polishing off his Jumanji 2 money, his Porsche that he bought with Jumanji 2
yeah,
money.
you said,
Was he in Jumanji 2? Was he
he
in
was,
Jumanji?
yeah, he was in, yeah, he was there in both of them. Kevin Hart and Jack Black were in
Okay,
both of
so
them. Yeah, he
and I
definitely.
was like, dude, okay. And then I heard and that was it. Jamie Lee Curtis is great. So anytime she's in it,
Yeah,
but
so
when I
good.
heard
Yeah,
that
it's gonna be good.
when I
Yeah,
heard the Roland thing was awful. So I walked in expecting when I saw the first trailer, it just seemed very generic.
right. Yep.
Like
Yep.
they didn't know what tone to hit.
Yeah.
They didn't, it's like its own like the way I felt when I was watching the movie is that I felt like it was a movie created by a board of execs
Yeah.
with different agendas, meaning different
Yeah.
bosses,
Right.
all in one room instead of like creative people
Yeah.
that they just brought Eli Roth and said, here, we already mapped this out for you. Just please trace it for us,
Yeah.
please.
Just,
Like we already
right.
told you where to go. Because that's the way it felt. And that's what I walked into and it was generic. It was just not a good feeling going into it. I'll answer it that way.
That's
But
okay.
there is no loyalty in terms of the brand with me.
Right. Okay. Right. See. Right. Which is
No.
okay. And that's a good point. It's a good point to make too, because it's like, uh, I know there were a couple of thoughts, comments, things that came across for people who were fans of the games, were excited about the movie because of the games, and then just were disappointed just because just the movie didn't work for them. Now, having said that, like the as a film,
Hmm.
okay, so so there's like three levels. There's the game, the adaptation of the game, and then there's like the movie, whatever. As a adaptation of a property that you're familiar with,
Hmm.
do you feel like Borderlands represents the source material well enough to be like beyond just like the surface level? Like, okay, looks, they got the character looks right, they got the world right. There's like beyond the basic, sort of stuff which you might expect. Do you believe that the movie represents that the spirit of that well enough, like as its own thing?
I definitely feel as though, I mean, that's the issue when you have a successful franchise you have to go into, right? If you have a successful book, you have a successful video game, you have a successful comic, there are certain beats that you feel like you have to hit, right? And if
Absolutely.
you get a bunch of execs in a room and you ask them what makes this property this, like it's like if you did a Superman movie,
Yep.
you're gonna be
Oh
like, what
yeah.
are the absolutes?
Right.
You have to have him in the suit. You got to have him fly. He's got to deal with his the dichotomy of alien human. Like those are the things you have to have. All right, guys.
Yep.
Before we move forward, this is the
Right.
recipe of what makes it,
Non-negotiable.
this
Right.
this meal delicious.
Right.
But with Borderlands, it just seems like they had to hit everything.
Right. So they
And
try.
just like when you put too much salt on your meal and it just
Oh,
messes it up and
yeah.
turns it the souffle to crap, they just put too much seasoning because they're like, we need these guys, we need the
Right.
ones with the
Yeah.
masks.
The math.
All
Yeah.
right, we need Marcus to drive the bus. We need Lilith to fly with her wings. We need Claptrap to be annoying. We need Roland to be a hard ass. We need Tannis. We need Moxie, even
Yeah.
though why would you need Moxie in this film?
Right. In this film,
Completely
because it's like,
useless.
right. It's
General Zod or whatever her name was,
yeah, the homegirl. She did.
General something. She's from the
Yeah, she's in the
game.
game, but it's like,
But like, why did you need
why should,
her?
yeah, why should,
You need Tiny Tina. You need her Badunkadunk mentioning.
right.
You
Yeah.
need
It's like,
like well, I'm now this is just the whiteboard. I'm still
right,
just with
right.
the
You're just like,
execs with the whiteboard. And can you notice how the whiteboard's getting bigger and bigger? Like you need the desert. You
right.
also need to be able to go to different space locations because you need the different
Yeah, the
locations,
actor has
right?
to keep it right.
But have you noticed the whiteboard digitally put behind me? Because I know you're going to put this in
Yeah.
post. Eli Roth is walking into the room being like,
Oh, yeah.
what the F is on this board? And they're like, here's 400 things your script has to have. Oh, and by the way, notice that none of what I said had story. Nothing about story. And so, by the way, weave a story into it. And so that's the thing. It was like the property, when you're so beholden to the various parts of it, you don't leave any room for a story. You're just making sure you're hitting the beats that the fans would enjoy, but it doesn't make a good inherent story. So with Borderlands, I don't think people understood what really makes it great.
Yeah.
It is the humor, sure, but not the humor that we saw.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
the
Yeah.
humor we saw
Yeah.
was just
It
it just it wasn't funny. I mean, you got
was
Claptrap
kind of,
who's pooping out bullets,
yeah,
which
but
hey, some my crowd was like whatever about it, but some people love that. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like the only part of the film, no, and I'll shut up after this. The only part of the film that felt in line with it, with the mood of the game was the probably the best scene. You know what the best scene is, right, of the movie? The one that had the most interesting idea and execution out of it.
it's
There's
probably
only
it's near the third act, right? It's probably near the third act.
never,
No.
never. No, I wouldn't even know. I'm not even gonna say why I wouldn't even know, but
Oh,
I wouldn't even know what happened in that third act. No, it was in the bar scene where they have Atlas wearing the
the
hologram,
thing, right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
and
Oh,
he keeps shooting
yeah.
the
Yeah.
innocent guy, and they keep putting it back. I thought that was funny. I thought it was well made, and I was like, that's kind of messed up humor.
Right, but it's right.
And it fit in line. It felt like that was the only thing that they kept from draft 2 when they got to draft
Yeah.
17.
Yeah. Right. Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then that feels like okay. There's at least one clear thing. They probably had a whole bunch of things that were like they were there sprinkled throughout, whatever it is that for people who don't know. Like I didn't realize this either. That there's actually a fairly large demographic of people who actually didn't know the game. They didn't know this that Borderlands was. I didn't know. I just figured, oh, this is going to be like this is like Fallout. This is like some of those other games that people know about going into it, but like and the people did know about it, but just like a whole bunch of people probably didn't know, so they wouldn't have caught that section you're talking about. They wouldn't even they wouldn't have known to like hang that on like, oh, there it is. That feels like spiritually that feels like Borderlands. Yeah, that's
But there is no heart to it. Like
right.
there's nothing about that's my Borderlands. It's like
Right.
you just need Claptrap to poop out some bullets and make diarrhea jokes. And I'm like, that's my Borderlands. Like there's no tear welling up when I see that, but that's Borderlands.
Right.
There's nothing tangible. Like there's nothing like with this film. When I was watching, I was thinking about this because I knew I was going to talk to you. This movie is really short, right?
Yeah,
And it's one of those
it's for sure. Yeah,
it's one of those films where you can just it's one of the many, and I wrote some down from the past several years that I felt that the studio was like, this movie sucks so bad that we're just gonna cut it, cut, and let's try to get as many first week views.
Yeah, the first weekend. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we had the shorter the film, the more times we can sucker people in, and we might be able to recoup it. But like if you remember, like the one I thought about that felt like this the most was the last. No, it wasn't the last. It was two Predators ago. Remember The Predator?
Oh yeah, right. The Shane Black,
Shane Black directed film,
right, right.
which was similar to this in that it went through so much reshoots.
Right.
It was shot so far back. There was so much so many different opinions on what makes a good Predator film. And then they ended up cutting it. And when you're watching it, you felt like there were swaths of time that you were like pushed
like they're like,
ahead,
oh,
and you felt like this movie's getting cut to crap. Like I feel like these scenes are strung together by the thinnest thread. And there
wait.
was the Dark Tower. Remember the old Dark
Oh,
Tower
in Dark
film?
Tower, yeah, the Idris, right, the Idris Elba, right.
Josh Whedon's Josh Whedon's Justice League.
Oh yeah,
The original was like
original
3
cut.
hours, and like, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 let's
he's
get
like,
it to 140.
right.
You know, no, but be sure to put that weird Batman scene where he kills that
Oh, that
gargoyle
one
guy
dude.
with
Yeah,
a
what?
net.
Yeah, yeah.
More on that later. Like, well, and what was another one? Sorry, I've it written down right
No,
now. The
yeah,
last
break
one,
him down. Yeah, look,
the
give me some.
last one was Righteous Kill. Remember the Righteous Kill with Al Pacino and De Niro?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. That's the other one. I was like, what's the other movie
If
that they?
that movie was 90 minutes, I'll pay you money. There's no way that movie has 90 minutes. And you know it's because they saw it and was like, this is trash. We got to save people's lives. And then they got the last one, I thought it was Fantastic Four, the Josh Trank one,
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
which
Oh,
again was a
yeah.
film that was cut because it just didn't test well. And so the Borderlands movie, like I really like the fact it's short as all heck, but it
Right,
does
yeah.
feel as though like you have it on the speed of it is like on 1.7.
1 point. Yeah.
Like it's a Netflix show you're just trying to speed through. It just felt like the plot was like that.
I'm glad you mentioned that too. And I so appreciate the list because I think that actually adds like context to like the idea that okay, look, if we're trying to imagine what's going on behind the scenes with the studio executives and the conversations that's happening with the execs and the people who are actually making the film, there is a whatever negotiation is happening. Studio execs have the power. They're the ones who are like giving you the funding to make this
Yeah.
movie. And when they're doing testing, and if they can see, if they even get a whiff that oh, this movie's probably not gonna, if projections are better, like I heard this for this movie, the projections for Borderlands was like it was like the projections were low going into they anticipated not making a whole bunch of money going into the opening weekend.
Like I've never even heard of the strategy of selling the rights until this movie came out. Did you read that too? 60 mil for selling the rights over abroad. I'm like, I've never had the urge to study that, but I was like, how is this? I had to dig into their books like an accountant. Like, how are you guys gonna make out? Like I felt concerned. Like I was reaching out to people's families, like the execs' families. Do you guys need a place to stay? You know?
Wild because it's like yeah because I just like I was yeah it's wild when you consider that it's like how is that even and then they only made I think it was like 8.8 8.9 whatever the opening weekend or whatever it is
Well, with that T-Mobile deal, you're only getting
right
$5 a crack. Like that's not gonna help your bottom line. I guess five's
oh,
better than zero.
was that at like so was this T-Mobile through AMC's or what or only AMC theaters were doing this or
No,
just
you can select any theater.
so anything okay really and
Any theater.
you just took like a receipt or a stub or something hey look or proving how do you got to prove you got
Oh, you
T-Mobile
have to have they have an app. T-Mobile
okay the app
owns the app
okay
that
that
I'm not even going to give them free pub, so I'm not even going to say the name, but you have to download the app, purchase it through that, and then you can select any
Okay,
theater you want.
that makes. I was like, dang, because how would you get that? It was just like, dang. I
T-Mobile.
was like, man, it's like wow, it only made like less than half of what they projected projection was. It was like, wait, what? But even 8.8 million, that's good for a
I
different movie.
paid I paid for more to park the car than it did for that ticket.
Then
That
just
thing was so cheap. But anyway, Steven, I didn't
yeah,
listen to your intro where I'm sure you put this ahead what you enjoyed about the film, but I'm
oh
looking at
right,
you like I'm
yeah,
looking at you like a creature I've never like if you
yeah,
were a
yeah,
creature I've never seen
right.
before. Like
So
I need to hear about what it is that you feel as though it landed correctly for
okay,
yourself.
okay, so I'm glad you asked this. So I'll tell you off top. The first thing that hit for me was Kate Blanchett. Obviously, I'm not, that's the like I similarly I agree with you. I think Kate Blanchett's great. I was hearing and reading about oh she's miscast. This is that. It's like look, if you get a good actor, whoever that actor is, if you know that they're a good actor, they can take whatever the material they can make it something. Even okay, the script fine, the script wasn't there, but a good actor they might have to work a little harder to make it to put some platinum in it, but it's I think with Kate, you got Kate Blanchett. That's a score for any movie. The movie could like if so to me that the initial thing that connected with me was Kate Blanchett, and I did say okay, well, I can see how one of the complaints would be like, oh, she's too old, she's too, she's not, But I'm like, look, just let's see, let's watch it. Let's see what she's doing. Within the first 10 minutes, it was like I was captivated. I was like, all right, I'm following her. It's like whatever's happening around her, like I can take this journey with her. I think it's similar to any other movie that was like if the movie around them is bad, if you get a good actor who's anchoring it, I think you can follow them anywhere. Like if because they're not gonna going to do the material. They're not going to play the material in a way that is beneath their skill set. And we're talking about Kate Blanchett. For people who care about awards and all that type of stuff, this is Academy Award winning actor. Like she knows what time it is. She's not gonna like. She's not gonna. It's not gonna be whack. Whatever it is, whatever you do. If the movie's whack, her performance won't be. So I feel like that was what hit me first. That's the number one thing. Kate Blanchett got me. The other thing was I really appreciate. So Kevin Hart surprised me. Actually, I was actually surprised because Kevin Hart in movies like this, like if you remember the Jumanji movies, any action, Central Intelligence, any of those movies where he's in it, there's a lot of running and shooting and explosions and stuff. Kevin Hart's going to be loud. He's going to be screaming a lot. There's going to be a lot of talking. Right. This movie surprised me because I found him to be more restrained. More restrained than you might see him in another movie. So I thought, okay, that's a plus for me. That's a green check mark on that. Like I appreciated that, and there was like you had a little bit of like a, concern or peril. Like, oh, is he might not make it? This is Kevin Hart's not going to be a player. He's not going to get out of this. There's like, okay, I appreciated the curveball the movie threw me with that. So that's another green check mark. And the other thing was oddly, Jack Black. I thought Jack Black did he did. You knew it was Jack Black, but to me, for the lot of the movie, he didn't sound like Jack Black. Like for most movies where I see him voicing stuff, like Kung Fu Panda, Bowser, whatever, his voice acting stuff, you hear Jack Black in that. This movie, I didn't hear him so much. I think it was one piece from one word he said during the credits. Like I watched the credits through it. It's like a piece of. Then you heard him a little bit, but for the most part, he sounded like okay. I can suspend my disbelief enough to not hear Jack Black, and I hear like this is Claptrap. That's I know what he sounds like. That was a green check mark for me. So I think those are probably the strongest things. Oh, the other thing was I can't remember the young actor who plays Tina, but
she was in the Barbie movie, right?
Yeah, I think she was. Yeah, I think
America
she was.
Ferrera's daughter. Yeah,
yeah, she was. So I thought she was good. I thought she was good. What's unfortunate about and Jamie Lee Curtis was good as well too. So these things all hit for me. I thought Tina was great but the issue was that the script didn't do a lot for what their abilities are. They had pockets of this movie where there where some emotion was coming through. Like you said, like the heart is the movie is devoid of a little bit of a heart. It tries to attempt to give you some heart, but it's like the way the movie presents it, it doesn't feel like it's not all the way there. And I think if they like you mentioned, if the movie was cut down and it feels like it's cut down, it does feel like it was cut. Like if they left some room, I think you would have had some more space to see the emotion from Tina and real emotion from and really have that be, or even the emotion from Kevin Hart's character and all that. Like you would have had more because you get pieces of what their dynamics are, but because everything's so tight, it's so compact you don't get enough of it to really live in the dynamics with them. And I think that's the issue with in the ways that the script does not serve the talent that the actors bring. So those are the things I think that hit. But yeah, if I'm going to run Kate Blanchett for sure, that's the Kevin Hart's surprising performance, Jack Black's performance, and then the girl who plays Tina. Those were sort of the bigger things that were okay, I can get behind it. And I think those are the things that made me go, oh well, this movie's not all that bad. It's not. It has problems for sure. It definitely has problems, but I wouldn't say it's oh, it's a stinker. This is terrible. That's just. And I think because of that, and I think following Kate Blanchett really just made it be all right. Well, if it wasn't for her, I don't know. I think I think it would be a lot.
Well, C4. Can you name a worse movie you've seen the past? I'll give you 5 months. Name a worse movie.
The worst movie. Oh, in the past. Oh, so in the past.
Worse
Oh,
than this.
so I can't name. Okay, in the past 5 months.
I'm giving you five. Usually I would be like, oh, the past month. No, I'm gonna extend it because I
Five
think it's
months.
hard to find one this bad.
Dang.
I put you on the spot. I'm sorry. I'm gonna
No,
talk.
I'm glad you did. This is a good. This is because it helps me go like, oh, you know what? Oh, you know what? Vacation.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I would put Vacation below this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. The good pull. You saved yourself on that
Yeah,
one.
this.
I forgot you reviewed that one too. That's
Yeah,
true.
I said, if I'm thinking about it, like, what? Oh yeah, Vacation. That's the one I would definitely put like that. Yeah, because really that movie only had like maybe one or two things that were good about it. That had less things to list. If you just say black and white, what were the things that stuck out for you for this movie that you liked? I I think there's only two about that movie. I just named like five or six from this movie for Borderlands. I'm like, all right, and that's a
Doubled it.
barometer barometer for me. But I hear it. I hear it. So I'm gonna put it back to you, Maestro. What one the other question I was trying to get to, what I wanted to ask you was, as a film, like does it work? Simply, does it
No.
as a film? Okay,
No.
doesn't work as
No.
a film, right?
No. Doesn't work at all. It doesn't work. It's it's awful. It's a bad movie. It's just not a good movie. Does it work as a film? What? It has characters.
Right,
It
right.
it it,
Make
it
them,
moves from
but
one placement to another. There is some thread of a story, though there are characters in it. You know, they did shoot it on celluloid or whatever, and did show it in a theater, so technically it is a film. Um, but no, it's a film that was it was dead on arrival. It just arrived, and it was something
you're right.
where even the Kevin Hart, like you mentioned, the actors. I mean, Kate Blanchett, I'll watch her in anything, and she
Oh yeah,
does have she sells the lines that are stupid. I
yep.
mean, there's some lines that are
Yes,
just are
yep,
so generic,
yep.
but she sells it. And I was watching her, and I was thinking, man, you're acting the hell out of this movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you were trying so hard. She's like that all that MVP running back on a crappy team that's
yeah,
just trying to get his team to
selling
win,
it. It's
and he's
just,
getting hit over and over and clobbered, and he's just clawing for. That's what I felt Kate Blanchett was doing. She was putting all the effort in. Kevin Hart was. I don't watch much Kevin Hart films. I think the last thing I saw was 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like I don't watch any films he's
that's
in.
right. I
I'm
forgot he was.
kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
kidding. I've seen him since then, but like I don't see any of his Rock movies. I mean, this movie feels like they called The Rock to be his character of Roland, and he picked up accidentally. And they're like, "I heck, Kevin Hart. We don't need The Rock."
yep. They
But
were
his characters,
the way it
you
was like
when you hire a person, right, like
right.
Kevin Hart, who's massively, massively popular, and the demographics in which he hits, the community, the African American community, the female community, the gender community, like all of these communities that he really has a stronghold in, and he's dedicated himself to. You are now bringing them into your film, and he has a persona.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you can either enrage them by having him inherit a role that's completely different than him, because the Roland character's no nonsense,
Yeah.
sarcastic, but that's all he is. He's a Marine basic
Yeah.
character, right?
Yeah.
So then I saw they signed him up, right? And I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna make him silly. They're gonna make him really loud,
Right.
super who he is. But as you saw in the film, he straddles it.
Yes.
Like he has a few lines about being short.
Yeah.
He says, ah, damn, like when he has piss in his mouth or something. Like you get a couple of the Kevin Hart
Kevin
moments,
Hart.
but
Yep.
you can see him also being like, I'm playing a Marine who's Space Marine, who's really, you can feel him trying to be like that. But then you realize like the production was so rushed that they didn't even remember to put the steps. So when he's
Right.
walking next to Tina, she's like this tall to him. Like I remember they were walking next to each other in the corridor, and they're the same height, and she's 12. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't even do the Tom Cruise
Right.
tactic
To
of
come.
having her walk in a pit at least. Like, no, this Space Marine's the same size as Tina. And I was like, oh wow, they're putting him in that position. But no, when you do that, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose because the people are gonna see that he's too docile, too
Right. He
um
had.
yeah, he's like he took a sedative, like he's just not himself. But then it's like, why did you hire him for this role unless you were going to utilize his talents? And I can see how he'd be like a space marine. This is great. This is new for my career. I can be a little bit more tough and a little bit more authentic. I don't have to be so big. But then they continued, I think, with the reshoots or the different takes they used, there was a fighting in the editing room, I felt, where he'd have the serious, non-serious, and Kevin Hart. And it's mostly serious, but they were randomly throwing this character who's Kevin Hart reactions to certain things that made it feel as though it was like I couldn't get a beat of the character. And I understood why, because at a certain point in the editing room, they realized we're watching a turkey. This movie stinks. So we got to lighten it up more. And so let's get the Kevin Hart zany takes in once in a while. But then you're thinking like this, you're not going to make them happy though. The fans who came in to see him are not going to leave happy because they didn't see the version of him that they love. And also the weird part, I read this somewhere where like, if you notice the film, like when Claptrap's in it, no one talks to him really.
Right.
And
Yeah.
no one reacts to specifically what he says. So if he's like, oh, it's a big rock, and they go, oh yeah, I guess it is a big rock. Like, they never speak to each other, which shows that he 80-yard like lines over to try to find the most dumbest things. And all people could do is get the reaction look. Well, that's dumb. Like, and like because you could tell they were trying to shove Jack Black's persona somewhere in it, the zaniness,
Right.
which is Claptrap as well. But again, you get a Frankenstein of a film that doesn't congeal because you're trying to hit everyone's bases at the same time, and at the end it doesn't have its own identity. You don't know what you're looking at. And then like you said before, you say that there's all these characters, right? But it's not really a character movie. It's not a character piece, even though they say, oh yes it is. They have 5 characters and all of them are super important. And you say, okay, but I don't know what really makes them tick besides the general, like, obligatory 4 or 5 minute scene they each got by themselves, like quiet moments where you'll hear what they're going through, but that's it. Then it's off to the plot.
Yeah.
And it seems as though because of the editing, it's plot, 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 plot. And I feel as though there's someone just pushing me to the next plot point. And what it feels like is when you go to these films, sometimes I feel as though there's a whiteboard, like I said, with little points, and all they do is tell Eli Roth, just follow this. Don't worry about these little character pieces. Get them here, and get them out of the theater and get the new crowd. And that's what it felt like. It felt like someone was just rushing me to the end of a film that had no life to it. C4, $5.
Yeah, right. For $5, right? All that for just for
And like I said, I'm gonna tell you right now, like I said before, there's people who did have those expectations. Like I was talking to you before. There was a gentleman who hadn't left his house in 2 years. Like I said before, like his clothes, it looked like it was on the bottom of the pile, and he had never ran an iron over it. And he sat by himself, and he was calm until the movie started, and then a flurry of reaction grunts, reactions audible and repulsed, like it was disgust. And he would mutter to himself, and I was like, oh my God, this person's unwell. And then like I had to move seats 20 minutes in. By the 4th, 5th time that he was upset, and he would be upset with things that I didn't know, like, why would you be upset? Tiny Tina throwing the bunny bombs and yelling out poopy diapers or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's Borderlands silliness. But even they were upset with that. They would grunt and go, oh, and spasm.
Dude, like they didn't do it right. Like he was upset going on. Thinking about the expectations there that he had that didn't match what he came in with.
As if there was a version like created with Mozart's talent. Like there's another way of doing poopy diaper throwing of bunnies that is much more, operatic. And I'm like, what did you expect? You're watching Borderlands, dude. You paid $5 on T-Mobile on your mom's plan. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you disappointed in this? And it's only 15 minutes in, buddy. You got so much more time left.
Time to go, yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm gonna go to the seat over there in the corner. This fake IMAX, it's gonna somehow look, the screen looks weird because I'm at that angle, but I'm like, I'm not, I don't want to look at you have a revulsion towards this.
Oh, see, that's no good. That's negative. So was your screen? Did it have it was flat? Did it have the curve at the like the edges? Yeah, or
No,
just straight
there
up? It was
was
flat.
the screen looked exactly like any other screen. I don't know why they upticked it to $7. It didn't look any bigger.
Dang. Aspect ratio.
Avatar couldn't live in that. That's what I was yelling at the
Yeah.
crowd when I
Oh,
sat there. I'm
that's
like,
I know
shut
you
up.
said that right. Yeah.
You can never live in that. You can't ride those
With
little
the whole yeah.
no. It was definitely a robbery going down.
But that's the whole see.
But
That's the see. And I see. So when I saw it, it was I think I went. It was during the matinee time, which already reduced prices or whatever. Already you go going in. There was literally me and like one other person, maybe two other people, because I know at one point like during the 25% through like 25 minutes, maybe half hour in, like I saw someone over here get up and leave. I was like, okay, so they left, but then they came back in like maybe 20 minutes after that. So like by 40 minutes into the movie, I saw them like peek to the court. They came back in and stayed by the stairs. They didn't come back to the seat.
they just you just heard him mutter, nope, still sucks.
And they went, when that dude left, it was just me and one other dude sitting up in the behind.
Did the guy behind you expect to see the dude in the tricycle, that little Timmy doll, come out? This is like a Saw movie. You have to finish this movie. That's your challenge, and you'll live. And you're like, I'd rather just jump off.
No, can you follow through? Can you stay the whole thing? And I was like, oh, I'm curious. Let me see if this guy stays the whole thing. And so I stayed through. I stayed, watch. I didn't want. I stayed maybe 5 minutes into the credits or whatever it is, and then I got up and left. Now you mentioned. I know you mentioned you left like 30 minutes left of the movie, like something like that, roughly.
To be fair, everybody who's watching this, I didn't know I was going to be recording this. Like this
Oh,
movie, we had talked about another movie we're going to review. If I would have known it was this one, I would have stayed to the end. But I get to the part where Princess Leia, aka Lilith's mom, shows up as a hologram and tells her like, I always loved you. And they have some like bizarre flashback where even though Kate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis are like maybe 5 years difference in age, like Jamie Lee Curtis is like 30 in the flashback and Kate Blanchett's like 10. So like somehow she's like her child that she was supposed to take care of. And I'm like, dude, that is some generous aging. Like, no, they're about the same age, man. That isn't how it works. But once when I saw that, I was like, no, life's too short. It's 11:45 at night, and I was like, I would be happier.
Oh, and it was like, okay, yeah, that's that.
I'm bailing. I looked at my watch. I'm like, we got 20 minutes left. There's nothing to save it. C4 will never ask me to talk about this movie, so I'm cool. It was like it was done. It was done, man. Because I think by that point, they'd already done the Ace of Spades shootout.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, if this isn't gonna get your adrenaline going, then this movie has nothing.
That's okay. That's it. So okay, so let's talk about let's talk about the action sequences, because there was a sense of like right. You mentioned if that one was like that wasn't a good. I mean, it was passable, right? It's not like it was a passable sequence, but like, if is that enough to like? It's obviously it's not enough to like to make it to inject some real energy into the and if that didn't do it, then the other previously sequences didn't do it. Like the other, because there were several other action sequences beats in between or before that felt like okay, you could watch them and go, all right, that's run of the mill. Feels like you would have seen this in another movie. Like there's some stuff that you might have seen in like Empire Strikes Back. You might have seen this in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's like some elements where it's like it's all right, we've seen this before. Like what about this sequence is gonna give it some juice for me to be like I enjoy this. And then and then also along those lines, the visuals for some of those sequences. Is it your opinion that the green the green screen, for instance, was it way obvious in the way that it took you out of the movie?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's taking place in a foreign like planet, sand planet, which you would think you could find near LA or Toronto or Vancouver.
Right.
But it was no, it was. But we have to talk about a little bit about the COVID restrictions. This was filmed during the height of COVID,
You're right.
during 2021.
Absolutely.
So there are definitely some takes where you can have character to character to character, but not too much of people, two or three in a screen. So you can tell that they shot their parts probably without the other person present because they had to be very, very careful. This is 2021, which was
Yeah, you're still in the thick of like things
It's
haven't.
the yeah, barely things are ramping up. They're learning about the distance restrictions. People are off by themselves. I would imagine that if you could somehow make it so that you're in a green screen studio, it's easier to
Yeah,
protect everybody. But as a result, like the terrain is so vast, green screen for me at least works best if it's really macro, like meaning you see
yeah,
little
yeah.
objects flying in the distance of giant buildings. You're like, okay, I'm immersed in it. But when it's all around a person, it's not like the Mandalorian where they have that giant 360 or 180
That's right. They
screen where
roll
it's
right.
actually immersive.
Yeah,
No, it's all flat. Doesn't have any depth to it. So
right.
when I saw that, I was like, no, like this looks fake. This doesn't look good.
Yep. Yeah.
The driving, the when they drove
Oh,
through
when
the
you're driving
the
through
the
the
the,
yeah,
the piss mines or whatever they had, like it looked bad. Like that CGI, there was nothing real in it. Because you can't hard if you're gonna see cars chasing each other through the desert, bashing through things, you're gonna think Mad Max.
right. Yeah,
And when you
exactly.
think of Mad Max, what made it great was the heft of those cars.
Yep.
These
The weight
cars
felt yeah.
were created by 18 nerds in a room just typing away zeros and ones. Like there was nothing real there. And maybe it was because they injected that scene a year after the principal
Oh
filming was
yeah, right,
done.
right. The
Not
big
saying it was, but I'm saying nothing, no CGI of it worked for me whatsoever. But it has to, I mean, if you're shooting a film with during that during the COVID, it has to take a lot out of you of the prep, and it has to restrict a lot of the decisions you make. There's no
sure.
way you can because you're on a schedule, you're on a tight budget. You got to get that crap done,
Yeah.
regardless of how much testing you have to get done for everybody else and how people have to stay secluded.
Yeah. No,
But
I
it looked
think
awful. It's trashy.
yeah, well, see, this is what we're talking about. So, 'cause I think for me, like most of it seemed like it was passable. You could tell that it was like, all right, this is. You can tell when CGI is good, when you don't, when you can say, oh, it didn't jump out at me too much. I didn't notice it that it was like, obviously the most of these movies are taking place in random planets that don't exist, in buildings that can't be physically constructed in real, things that weird stuff. Where when it's done right, you don't question the the authenticity of the feel of it. And I think to your point, I think for me there were really maybe two sequences when they did medium shots. That's where I saw it more because the lighting had to be, the lighting, how a character's head was lit and where presumably the sun would be, like you knew where it could be, like spatially, but the way the light of it, something about the light didn't feel authentic enough. And you can see like, oh, that's a screen back there. That's like you like just very, it's all right. This is all right. I can tell that's it didn't take me all the way out, but it was enough to be like, I noticed it. Okay, all right. But I see what you're going for. And I think for in some instances too, for movies that do that, even if it's like glaring, I can respect the attempt. I can see what you're going for, and if it doesn't take me out too much, then I'm allowed to suspend my disbelief enough to where I can go, all right, I'm still in the because in that sense, it's like watching a stage play where the background's moving, someone's in the back there moving the things, but you can still be immersed in the story. You're not broken. There's humans moving the waves of the water or whatever. You know that the boat is there. It's not a real boat, but people are standing behind the thing. Like, but you're immersed in the idea of what they're conveying. Like it's done well. And I think the same can be true for digital work in film if it's not so glaring that because I know what you're trying to do, but it's like that part's kind of off, or this hair is off. It doesn't match the framing here. That's the other thing where it could be. I don't know if it works as well.
Well, it's similar to what the game was, like I said before, where they realized when they were trying to make realistic looking characters, it looked bad because they
Right.
didn't have the budget compared to the other bigger
Yeah.
video games. So what they did is like we're just gonna make everything cell shaded, which is just black, like someone drew you. And we're gonna make every character look like a person drew you. There's gonna be black outlines and shade by hand.
Mhm.
And there's a craft there. So they said this is not gonna take that much CGI or not too
Yeah.
much budget to break the bank to make it look different. You just had to think in a certain way to how do you cut costs but make it look different. And it's
Mhm.
the same
Yeah.
thing with films where if you're striving for realistic, you when you don't have the cash behind it, it's glaring and you're not going to reach the level of everyone else. This isn't Guardians where,
Yeah.
wherever they go, it feels like it's a tangible place because half of it's set and half of it is a giant room of green screen. Like they don't have that kind of in their budget. But with this one, there was none. They just tried to make it look as realistic as possible, but then the fact that they didn't have that much money, it really made it that way, and it made it so look cheap. But your discussion of the waves, it's more of like an interpretation.
Yeah,
What you
you're
see is
thinking about
stylistic,
sure. Yeah.
and so like if they had just done it and said we're
Mm.
gonna make it look different, it's gonna be a little bit more brighter. It's gonna have like the motion blur will look a certain way. Like if they decided to do something artistic with it, at least they could have created a new kind of experience rather than something where it's like I've seen this a million times looking better than this, and it
Yeah.
just looks cheap. That's the thing that sucks is when you see a
Yeah.
movie like this and you say it looks cheap. I wonder how much they paid for it. 130 mil. You're like, I don't see this. It is so bad.
Right. It was like that's the other thing too. It was like right 100 like that in that range as your budget for the movie. When you look at stuff like you saw we talked about Godzilla minus one that was 15 million, and the effects were amazing. Like just for the it's not like all this groundbreaking, but it's good. It's strong enough to where it's like this it sells it well, and you're not questioning the oh that doesn't look that's it's got but it's Godzilla and it looks legit for $15 million. They did, and they told and the story was good, but they had other things that were working for. The story was good, the actors were good. You had a whole bunch of other things working for. When you look at it visually, how do you do that with that budget? And then you look at a movie like this that had like maybe three times the budget of that, and why is it looking like this? What you guys? But yeah, like you said, we talked about the COVID restrictions and stuff. What else is that money? You figure maybe some of that total cost is probably going to be used for marketing, it's going to be used for whatever is going to be cut into that. That's going to be. But it's like, come on, man. When you look at those numbers, it's like and you did 2 weeks of reshoots 3 years later. You had but there's less excuse. I think three after the after you finish the initial shoots, there's less excuse for like abysmal visuals unless but then sometimes this happens because you're up against like you said, the schedule's a factor, it's crunch time, and then it's like, all right, after the 2 weeks are done, like, all right, then you got to give it back to the digital artists, then they got to do what they're going to do and do post-production, all that other stuff, and hey, by
And
the
at a
time
certain point, you just gotta like, at what point do you sink your costs? You're like, it's
yeah,
over.
yeah, right,
Because usually with 2 weeks of reshoots isn't much.
right,
I
no, it's
mean, if you,
not right,
it's not much. So at a certain point, it's like, listen, this thing's we got to make it presentable.
right,
It's like if you burnt the turkey you were cooking and then you just put some garnish next to it. You're like, it's got to throw
right.
some garnish, some greens around it to throw it off, make it look presentable.
You look a
Maybe
little
they'll
bit
maybe they'll take a bite accidentally and then spit it out,
right.
aka buy a $5 ticket and then realize, oh crap, I just bit into a blackened turkey leg. It's like I felt when I sat there and watched this movie.
Yeah, man.
It was just nothing to me clicked. Kate looked like she was dedicated. Kevin was deeply miscast.
Yes,
Claptrap was who he was in the game. So
yeah,
if everyone's annoyed with him, so
that's
that's basically it. Tiny Tina was like nothing.
right.
I mean,
Right.
she's trying to be a MacGuffin, right? She's supposed to be the
Yep.
person who is the person they're chasing after, and then you realize at the end, no, it wasn't. It was someone else, right? And it's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad I cared about that so much, you know?
That's the other thing too. Like that's the other thing. If it feels like that sounds like that element doesn't work. Like in some movies where you have like you're like where they give you like, oh, it's supposed to be like your twist, whatever it is. Oh, you think it's this, but it's actually this.
We didn't
That can
care.
work. But
We didn't care. Like
yeah,
I didn't
right.
care. Did you care? C4, did you when you're like,
So
oh,
no,
you're not Tiny Tina, you're
yeah,
not the
yeah.
person who's gonna open the portal?
So actually I cared until it was more like, okay, I did not care. It was just more like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. Okay. I knew it was gonna be some other kind of like
It
we
can't be
think
that easy. It can't be
yeah, it's
that
not gonna be
simple.
that right. Something else is gonna be it. But something and then it's okay, it's not something's not opening. What is this? Okay, so maybe you need something else. You thought this was the key, but maybe something else, you need another piece that's in this area somewhere. Maybe that's what's gonna be the turning point. Yeah, oh, it's this other person. Oh, okay, that's and I think when you look at like just from a narrative standpoint, there are things where you look at like, does this feel earned enough? Like I think the movie, I think that was the other issue that when it's fine, you can throw those curveballs all you want to, but you have to like I feel like seeds need to be planted in a way that make it feel like when the curveball hits you, it feels earned. And I don't know that it feels earned when the actual thing, when the actual flip up happens, you're just like, oh, okay. It's one of those, oh, you don't go, oh, it's not like Empire Strikes Back when you go, oh, that's his father. That's like the, oh, what? Like that. It's not that. It doesn't feel.
No.
It's more like, oh, okay, all right. Let's see what happens now. Now that we got this new thing, how does this impact the rest of the story?
Well, it's one of those things where when it happens, before you can get upset with it, the movie's moving on, and you're like, all right, I'll
Yeah,
think
it's
about
like
it
it's still,
later.
yep, right, exactly.
I'll look at this later and be like, am I going to get upset at this or not? Because it's like, then why did we go after Tina?
Right,
It's
the whole
like,
time, like the whole, like that was the big thing.
why?
You're getting
Yeah.
all this money, like, hey, you gotta go, you're bounty hunter, hey, get this, I'm paying you for this, and you realize, oh, so you got paid for
And he
what?
found her so fast.
Right.
Like he found her like within the first 10 minutes. They're like, oh, here she is. We have a video of her. Oh, it's like she's barely got
Like
to
what?
Pandora, and like she did no hunting. She didn't go anywhere.
It was pretty quick. I was like,
They had like a surveillance thing like that showed her hanging out someplace. Oh, I'm gonna go there. And it's like,
okay. You're like, oh,
really? Okay. And like there you go.
see,
That's again, it's like, dude, we're just getting
just
like we
get,
just
yeah.
gotta get them to meet Tina.
That part, I think that element, I think I can appreciate that too. Like, because having not played the games and don't really know, this is my first real introduction to Pandora, right? As a world or whatever it is. And you do get the sense that if we're being told by voiceover that, hey, this is Pandora, it's like it's a terrible place, you got all kinds of crazy people, blah, 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 and yet but you're getting tastes of that, but it's fast. You get quick cuts. She's coming across the cycles. Oh, she got to shoot him, blah, blah, blah. This fight here, fight there. There's not enough room to really feel the threat. I want to feel like if I'm on Pandora, like I want to feel like I'm in Pandora. Where are the threats? I want to experience the threats too. Like I'm just going, oh, it's like she's telling us a story. Yo, I'm on Pandora. This place is crazy. We got crazy people over here. Oh, look at them. I just shot a couple of them. We gotta go over here. The next thing. Like you're like the pacing is right. It's moving. It's moving. I think the pacing is too quick. So I think and the movie suffers because it's so short, like a 90 minutes ish movie. You lose a lot of room for stuff like that to experience the world you're in. Like it needed to be probably another, I mean, have it be done to have it feel like you lived in like a lived in space. Spend more time in the bar, or spend more time, and spend more time with the characters. There's not a lot of, and then like when character things shift, they shift so quickly. It's like, oh wait, this is this. Okay, that's. Oh, I thought it was cool. Oh, she found out this guy. Oh, she overhears the conversation and she just thinks, oh, you're a bad guy now. Get out of here. I'm like, wait, that's too quick. There's no
Yeah.
station around everything they went through to get before that. You would at least think that, oh, there's going to be some space to talk about it. Like, which it's not what you think. Let's just actually have a conversation about it. Nope, psych. We're gonna move
We
to the
got we got somewhere to go.
next scene. Right, next.
You know, it's like we got to hey, we the 8 o'clock starts in 5 minutes, man. We got to get this movie
Yeah,
out. We got to get them in.
get him
They
in, get him.
don't care. Like they don't. Like C4, they don't care. Like they don't. They don't care.
So
You
that's
know,
yeah. I
they
feel like
don't
that's
they don't
the
care about this. I mean, maybe they did at some point, but when you're like, no, you have to have this. Yeah, Moxie has to be in general, whoever has to be in there. You got to have this person in there. Liv has to have that kind of gun. And then you got to have that one guy, the barbarian guy who's going, I'm gonna eat your bones. You gotta have Tiny Tina. And she's got like once when you do all that and you run out of fingers and toes, you have no room to breathe. And I think what they needed to do, because because yeah, as if I know. I've never made a movie, but like you can get just the top eight.
right. Just
Just be
right.
like, screw
So
it. Borderlands 2 will do the others.
the rest, yeah,
But
yeah.
what is the essence of what it is to we can only choose, guys, we're gonna fight this out in this room on this whiteboard. We're gonna
Yep.
select
Get
the
it all
seven
out.
things
Cross
that
them off.
are absolutes. And then everything else is going to be up about the human beings involved. But
Yeah.
seven, I'm not going to put in that character because most people are going to giggle with joy. It's like it's going to throw people off. Because at a certain point, even if you haven't seen Borderlands, there are segments, I bet, where you watched it or heard something, you're like, that must be from the game.
Right.
That
Yeah.
must be a reference
Right.
because
Yeah.
there's a pause and like, oh,
Yeah.
waiting for like
Right.
cheers. And we're like, if you don't know what's going on, you're like, that's so it has nothing to do with what's going on. This is very disruptive. And it's those people are like, you got to get it in. It's like, how do you make it organic without taking the viewer out? And if you're thinking about the video game and how this must be tying into it, you're out of the theater, you're out of the story. Then you got to re-jump in. And if it happens like 20 times in the movie, then what are you doing? It's almost like you're just trying to sell the video game. You're making a long commercial.
Yeah,
You're
right.
not making
Wow.
something that can exist in itself. And you know they had aspirations for Borderlands 2
Oh,
because I
sure.
don't believe there's any mentioning unless he's at the end, but Handsome Jack is like known as the one, like the
Yeah,
Handsome Jack is a
yeah,
villain who's in,
yeah.
I
He's a
think
good.
two or three of them. I think he's in one of them. Um, but he's very charismatic. He's a super duper villain guy who's like really he's very defined. If you know the
Yeah,
Borderlands thing, you know he's the guy. He's like your Doctor Octopus,
yeah,
Spider-Man type villain, right? But
right.
there's none of him. He's just Atlas is just some dude who speaks broken English and it shows up on hologram faces, you know?
Right.
And that's who Atlas is. He's the bad guy. And I'm thinking the only reason you do that is because the next step is you get ready because this is the villain. There's none of that. And so that's how you knew that they had aspirations for something bigger with this that they had to have, right? But the thing is, it got lopped off with too many people having too many opinions. And when you had it was too many ingredients in your souffle, and then it sunk. It sunk. You put it
Resident
in the
Evil.
oven and it sunk on itself.
That's
And it's an
that's
awful film.
just like
It
damn.
doesn't do anything right. There's nothing right about it. Soundtrack's not good. Doesn't look good. It's not, the characters don't really, they don't mean anything. They're like bumping into each other like bumper cars. There's no pathos really.
Oh
I
yeah, that's right. That's the
I
other
can
thing.
understand why Kate Blanchett would do it. It's so different. She probably got
Oh
paid
yeah,
a
yeah.
really good amount because she's used to doing independent films. Oscar, you think she got a crap? You think she got 10 mil for Tar?
Oh yeah. No,
You think Tar broke the bank?
no, no,
No,
no way.
no.
Absolutely not. Like this one of those
She
movies.
deserves
Yeah,
this paycheck. She deserves it just like anyone else would. But this movie, man.
that's the,
C4, if I ever come back, I want another better movie than this.
no. We're definitely gonna do, but we no,
Because
we
this movie is probably one of the worst things I've seen in a
certainly
hot
this
minute.
year, right? Worst thing you've seen this year, right? Hands down.
I mean, I have to remember what my October list looks
Right.
like
Okay.
because
Right.
October I just saw nothing but horror films, and trust me, there's
Yeah.
some brutal, crappy ones there.
Right.
And
No, I
but this
think.
one,
I mean, for this year though, we haven't gotten to October yet. So far for 2024,
sh-
is it the worst thing you've seen?
yeah, of
Anywhere now?
course. Oh yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing worse than this. There's
Dang.
nothing worse than this. Now, Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, that was
Okay,
maybe
that's
that was
better,
a
right?
2 or 2.5. Yeah, it's
Okay, yeah,
better.
that's better. Right, I was gonna say it has to be. Come on, Indiana Jones
Yeah,
has to be.
Continental Drift, dude. That
Yeah,
the
right.
Continental
Oh, that's
Drift.
because of the.
Remember that?
That's
But it was Borderlands is definitely. But I went in knowing what I was gonna get, so I wasn't disappointed. I was just like I was hopeful.
okay. See, yeah, I appreciate that. Like, because you went in with you didn't have like super high expectations for the movie going in. Like, this is like it's gonna be the best thing. So and I think that helps. Like, if you calibrate your expectations, that's one thing I would say to anyone who's watching this who has not seen Borderlands yet. And you're curious about it, calibrate your expectations. You just so if you, in fact, like probably a good test to just watch the trailer because I know personally I watched the trailer and it didn't seem like it was anything like spectacular. Like to me, it reminded me of something like I don't even remember the early Suicide Squad trailers, like the first
Great reference. Yeah.
it's good. It's like okay, it's a generic action movie, whatever it is. It didn't seem like anything was great, and you see the movie, it's not the best movie, but it had like this movie, it had a couple good things about it. But this one had more, I think,
What was a good thing about
about
Suicide Squad
Suicide Squad
C4?
as an
Really
aside.
quick. Sorry to interrupt
I,
that.
no, it's cool.
No,
No,
keep going. Keep going. Why am
I
I
know we're getting
interrupting?
close.
You're the you're,
I know we're getting close, but no, but I was just because we might talk about this movie, but I want to tell you. So I think the best things to me were I actually liked the pairing. I liked Will Smith and Margot Robbie's dynamic in the movie, and I also I can't remember the character, the guy who's like he has like the fire powers, whatever it is. I liked his
oh
back.
the Mexican guy.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I think if the movie really tapped more into that spirit of that,
Yeah.
it could have been with each of the characters because they all had such like interesting backstories, and if you knew some of the lore, it just brings some of the more and it had some humor or whatever it is too. But if you bring some of the pathos, like we talked about, like the you can have a fun movie and still have pathos. You don't have to be afraid to bring in a little bit of weight. Like it still can be fun. It can still be action. All that stuff can still be there. But I think stuff like that kind of stuff is what Borderlands was missing. It didn't have a lot of the and you can see where elements where it tried to do. Like I think with Lilith, with her not not having seen her mother since she was a kid, like there was stuff there to play that from the writing standpoint you could have mined that to make it rich, like to make it. And then from Tiny Tina, like her being like essentially a lab experiment or whatever she was created, and then like there's stuff that they tried to do it, but it wasn't really, at least for the movie. Like you could have, there was, for the context you set up, like the movie didn't even like stay true to its own. Like you have good ideas there that you just unpack them a little bit more. You could have really got some rich emotion.
The pathos cannot be. You can't give pathos in a boardroom.
Yeah. Oh,
You can't create it. It's on the floor. It's the director. It's the actors.
Yep.
In the moment. That's what you create your pathos. And so you can write it on your 15th draft as as a person. You're not even the screenwriter, just like a producer. Like, we got to have pathos. We got pathos. But it's not on you as a producer to know how to do it. No one can deliver it except you given the writer slash director that prerogative, like, get it done and take the much time as you need to get this scene right or to do these things right. Like, I could tell, like, they wrote, like, we have to care about these people. Yeah, we have to care about these people.
Right.
But it's like,
we don't feel it.
they're, it's like Guardians 3. Remember when they go with Rocket when he shows him getting tested?
Right, yeah.
Where he's getting tested.
There's like
that
stuff.
thing, you can tell when you see Rocket's scenes where he's being tested in Guardians 3 that James Gunn truly loves this person, this character.
Yeah, right.
And in those scenes, those flashbacks, they're slow enough where it doesn't feel like you're rushed.
Right.
You can tell that people could tell, like, hey, this movie can work just as well if you don't know this stuff.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
you can tell he's like, no, this is the heart.
Yeah, right.
Like, everything has to revolve around this.
Yeah.
And with Borderlands, everything had to revolve around the brand. The brand had to come first.
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, and it wasn't about the people, it was about the brand. And how are we going to push the brand? And how are we going to make new games? And how are we going to serve up for the sequel? And so when it's not focused on, I love this person, and it's really hard when you're Eli Roth and you're hired after 4 years of it being in production. These aren't your babies anymore.
Yeah, that's
a
good point. Yeah, dang, man, that's
it.
That's it. Yeah. All right. So closing thoughts. Right. I mean, so movie doesn't work. Yeah. I think we're gonna do, like, I think for this one we'll hit up the like, I know we talked about this like separately offline, which is through text, whatever it is. What would you, so out of 5 stars, what's your rating for Borderlands?
No, it's 1.5.
1.5. Oh, 1.5. Okay.
Let me break it down to everybody. All right. 5 stars means classic. That means maybe in a year I'll have 1. Maybe every couple of years I'll have like 2 or 3. 5 is that, right? 4.5 means near classic, superior to everything. Like, this thing is magnificent. 4 is great. 3.5 is very good. 3 is good. 2.5 is meh.
Right.
2 is bad. 1.5 is putrid. And 1 star is, it makes me wonder why am I doing this to myself? It's like a jigsaw torture device having me watch this movie. There's only been a few ones. But boy, when they hit me though, I watch it to the very end and I'm like, this is awful. So this one's 1.5. It is, yeah, it's 1.5. It's a putrid film. It's the only thing I like about it is Cate Blanchett. That's it. So when I say that, that's like
that. Hey, look, I can respect that. I can respect that rating. I gave it. I mentioned, I told you, I gave it 3 stars because to me, my look at my ratings is more like, and I do the half stars too. Like, this one felt like a solid, like, 3. Like, it was like this was more meh to me. Like, it was this as a whole. It was like, okay, it's okay. It's
2.5 C4. You can go 2.5.
2.5, right? 2.5. Yeah,
man. This means like it was neither good nor bad.
Right.
3 to me is, would you recommend this to a person?
Oh, okay.
Your friend said, hey, I'm gonna go rent this movie. Should I just watch it tonight or what?
Right.
If that's the thing that tells you if we're going into 3 or are we going back? It's like,
back.
If you put too many caveats, it ain't a 3. If you're like, as long as you want a good time, you'll have a good time. And that's a three.
See, because I think too, the other thing about like how I look at the like, if someone goes, "Hey, what would you recommend this movie?" Like, I might say, because if we're coming like looking at it from the perspective of what it is to like, I didn't make the movie, right? But I understand what it takes to. I understand the sort of the things that go into making a movie. So I'm going like, look, even if this movie sucks for you, person who might, if you go see it, if like, hey man, you know what? I'm not saying I would personally, I don't think it's the best movie, but if you're curious about it, I would say check it out. If you're open to checking it out, just to see what you think. I would never say, nah, I don't recommend you watch it. I would just go like, well, you know what? It wasn't. I didn't like it as much, but you check it out. You might, to see what you think, whatever it is. So I think that's where when I get to like three, whatever, even my lower rated movies are like, all right, well, it's it's lower rated than what I would give it on like a higher. I wouldn't consider it like what I and then I look at it like would I watch it again? Like if I is it a repeat viewing for me? Like or like it's this Borderlands feels like a movie that you could have. You're cleaning. You can have on the background, and it's like you don't really care to really pay attention to it. It's like it's on, and it could be. I could see for some people it could become a comfort movie. For some people, like, but it's a lower for some people. Like it may not be like, all right, that's have it on the back and just that's what you do. That's the scale you're working with, and this is so then all right. So we got the rating. So then lastly, is does this movie does the movie change 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is it still going to be like what do you think based on what you've seen? Because it could still be a future movie 10 years from now. It could just easily like sometimes you look at a good B movie from the 1950s or whatever, one of those old movies that are not like the best.
Oh, of course, like
Not
The Thing, right? The Thing,
like
John
like
Carpenter's The
original,
Thing,
right?
1981 was a bomb, and now it's regarded as one
Right,
of the
but it's like
greatest films ever
right,
made.
yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Like it's like okay, so this could this be that? It's video game. Like in your opinion, what do you think?
I will answer this because I hope that this becomes a question you ask all guests that you bring because it's a really good one. But if you're specifically bringing it up just for this one, I'm like,
No,
why are
no,
you
no,
bringing
no.
up this one only? Because this one will not be remembered for Jack anything. Maybe Jack Black. Will this
Right,
film be reviewed differently? No, it's going to be forgetted. It's going to be forgetted. It's going to be forgotten very
right,
quickly,
right.
and it will
Very
not
quick.
be remembered. I don't even think I don't even think it sticks with anyone. I don't think Kate Blanchett's
Mm,
gonna. She
yeah,
won the Oscar. She got Tar, so it
yeah.
doesn't stick to her. I don't think it's gonna stick to Eli Roth because he made well, from what I've read and heard, Thanksgiving. Shout out to Aaron,
Yeah.
who said it was a great film, a horror film. So even Thanksgiving, he bounced back within like a year before this movie, even though he shot it way before. Jack Black's still popular. Kevin Hart's still gonna make films. Nothing will, no legacy will be left behind it. The only thing that might happen is maybe a couple of companies go bankrupt.
Okay.
Lionsgate, Lionsgate might have to make some less risky. I mean, you could see it
Oh,
going where Lionsgate makes more John Wicks. Like they
oh,
went like
right.
we're gonna
Yeah.
make we're gonna make 8 John Wicks because we got to make up for the gaping hole in my bank account. Like it might change strategies moving forward because the stockholders of those companies are going to be so concerned. So they're going to have to make some less conservative decisions about the movies they move forward with, which affects all of us. But we're not going to see that directly. So Borderlands will just be, it's going to be left alone. It will not come back as a cute cult classic. It doesn't have that chic factor to it. It's
Yeah.
uh it's just one of those films that just didn't work like the other ones I've mentioned. The
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fantastic Fours, the Predator, Righteous Kill. I mean, all these films, I mean Righteous Kill, but it's not going to be as derided as Justice League, even though that movie was better than this one. But still,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
not I don't think it's going to be remembered besides, I think this pod or this YouTube video will be more remembered than the movie. That's without a doubt for the millions that saw this. But what about you, Stephen? Do you feel like there was kind of a
Yeah.
a part to it where people are going to circle back? Maybe kids who were 12 or 11, and this is one of the first movies they remember that some parent renting. It just stuck in their brain.
Right. Yes. Right. So that, yes, I can appreciate that sort of amendment of the idea of the question because I think the for kids of a certain age, if they even if they've never played the games and they go with their families to see this movie, or even they catch it on cable, they catch it on TV one day, whatever it is. I think there's a world where 15 years from now, some kid at now who sees this movie will for that person, maybe for a smaller group of people, I think it would be their comfort movie. It would be like one of those, yeah, it's so bad. But when you're a kid, you don't really, you're not thinking about how bad the movie is. It's just like, oh, it's entertaining. You see like a lot of the colors, it's like bright and explosions and people with interesting hair and like crazy. There's like crazy things happening on the show. It's like that might be the thing that'd be like, all right, I could see like this is like on a smaller scale thing to a certain degree. There is a world where that happens, but I think to your point, I'm more in agreement with you on the larger scale in terms of the legacy of the film. Like when you think about like the legs the movie has beyond opening weekends and like successive weekend box office and stuff like that, home release, all that stuff. I think beyond that, it will fall the wayside of like the remake of Tomb Raider, the Alicia Vikander version where it was like maybe didn't do as well, fans didn't like it as much. It would fall in line with some of the other 90-minute movies you mentioned that it's like they're out there. If you're curious about them, you said Backdraft 2 is one of those movies. There's like several movies where it's like 90, also like 95 minutes, something like that, shorter movie where it's like, all right, well, they might have good things about them, but in terms of the legacy that the film has, it's not going to be, like majorly, like, oh, this is going to be like a cult classic 30 years from now. Like I feel like it's like it's going to be, it'll be like a lot of the like I think the same thing, B movies, science fiction B movies that were like, so they're like 25 cents a pop. They're not made for like the consumption of this is a master, this is gonna get an Oscar. You're not making them for that. You just turn the stuff out. It's gonna feel like that 25 years from now, 15, 20 minutes. Like, all right, it's out there. You want to see it, you see it, and if you like it, cool. Like it's not going to be one of those things going to change the world or whatever it is. So but I appreciate that. I think I do intend to keep that as that's going to be one of the closing questions. Like, 15 years from now, what's up with this movie? Even when we talk for old movies, like we got a couple. I have a list that I want to talk to you about. That have that I feel like the question will be particularly crucial for those movies.
Well, moving forward, I only review films
Yeah.
that star Steven Seagal. So
Yeah, that's right.
It's gonna be
that's right. That's
we're
the
going
point.
through his 200 films. We're going through one at a time.
The direct DVD ones, we got to go for all the ones that are like hidden.
He's got the Dracula widow that he has now that he rocks. That and the 500 pounds of blubber.
Like, oh, that's
no.
Still doing like martial arts. I feel like this.
It's basically the way we high five each other every time we meet. It's basically how he fights. Just like us, like this. Like we're a cat with yarn. Like a yarn ball.
That's the moves. That's
That's so dumb. But now C4, the channel you're doing it's really good. As I watch all the videos, I appreciate how quick you turn them around.
Oh wow, thank you. That's actually
the quick turnaround. You don't cut this out because I know you're gonna cut this out of the video.
I know,
no, don't you do that. No, it's good stuff. I'm much appreciated for the invite. It's gonna have like a bizarre cut from.
It's like cut. Hey, that was a good conversation with Maestro.
My hat's removed, like for some reason, got slapped through the screen.
But no, I mean, I genuinely appreciate that. And actually, again, don't feel obligated to watch the videos. Like you're not obligated to watch. But I'm thankful that you do, and I'm grateful for your time and for your thoughts. Like as a cinephile, movie person. Like I'm definitely looking forward to having more of these types of conversations with you. So I really appreciate you just we're cool and just being open with the thoughts on the movies and stuff. And I liked that this was a great conversation for and I appreciate the contrast. Like there wasn't that there's some flexibility. Like, hey, we're not in agreement. We both don't think this movie's great, but also there's some levels in terms of how we appreciate this movie. So I really appreciated that for this discussion. So until next time, I've got Steven Seagal's next. We got Under Siege, the next one.
Are we really gonna do that one?
We gotta do Under Siege now. That's gonna be
all right.
I'll call it out here.
I hyped it up.
We can switch it up if we need to. Like this for this video, I said Under Siege, but you guys never know if you guys are watching. We may come out with it may be a different movie, but I'm just saying Under Siege is on the list. So just
5 stars, baby. I'm calling it now. For every time one of his fellow Marines tells him, when he tells his fellow Marines, hey, say hi to your mother for me. A star each time he tells a random dude to say hello to his mother. Happens in 8 films. Dude, you're in a submarine. Like, he's not gonna have
That's right.
access to go see his mother to relay the message.
You can't even, and you can't call from out there. You don't
You
have like
can't call. You think
no call.
sonar phones? Ridiculous, man. Yeah. No, thank you, C4. Much appreciated. And always lovely to speak to you about films, man. One of my favorite things to do.
Oh, me too. Definitely, the feeling is mutual. Yeah, we're gonna hit him up next time. Yeah, you got, yeah, you knew it. I was hitting, I was ready for it.
How we're gonna do? It's like a Steven Seagal Marine salute. Like
He does.
he
Hey,
does salute at the
I noticed
beginning.
he did that in like both movies.
He
I thought it
does.
was like I remember I watched this. Oh, he definitely did the. It was like
He does. No, he did a little bit. He did some research on his roles. All right, all right. C4, don't be giving him crap about his thespianism.
No, I'm
He
with it.
knows how to salute, man.
That's the part that I was like with. He was said he was in a series. They had the freeze frame. They were at the.
He was so dumb. That movie's so bad. All right, then. Thanks again, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you for
C4.
your time. Till next time. We're out here. All right. That was a fun conversation, and they're always fun. Any conversation about movies is always a fun time. But they're particularly enjoyable when you can sit across from someone who has such passion and such insight and genuinely unique thoughts about movies, as the Maestro has. You guys know, you've seen it now, so you know what I'm talking about. Like I said, hopefully this is the first of many conversations that we'll have together. And yeah, that was a discussion on Borderlands. So if you've stuck around, watched the whole thing, thank you. Even if you haven't, if you watched for a couple seconds, appreciate your time. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Come on back. We've got some more reviews coming up. Hopefully, we've got some other conversations lined up as well pretty soon. So that's on the way. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.